Brace yourselves for an unbelievable story straight from my personal life. I strongly suspect my partner is being unfaithful. I'm 34, and I suspect my 2-year-old wife might be cheating on me. Our marriage is 2 years old, yet we have been together for around 5 whole years. The last few months have been financially challenging, forcing me to take additional work shifts to cover expenses. I spend less time with her now, but an unsettling feeling suggests she could be unfaithful. First, she drastically altered her appearance, now meticulously styling herself. She even feels anxious if she isn't perfectly presented for simple outings, like grocery runs. Both of us are typically casual, so her sudden obsession with looking good seems strange. My friend suggested it might be post-surgery, an effort to boost her recovery and morale. She had a breast tumor removed to prevent its spread. Our insurance only partially covered the operation, not the costly aftercare. With her unpaid sick leave, we now rely entirely on my income. That's why I worked extra. But since she returned to work, I cut back my hours to be with her more. She actively avoids spending time with me. I truly don't know why. But whenever I step into a room she's occupying, she finds an excuse to quickly step out. She now sleeps on the sofa, claiming my heavy snoring disrupts her rest. While I do snore loudly, it never bothered her before. When we first dated, she constantly wanted to be near me, texting me daily about her activities. Neither of us had a large social circle, so I included her in everything. After moving in, we used to share every detail of our day when apart. I appreciated that routine, as it kept me informed about almost everything in her life. She was also very physically affectionate. She enjoyed touching and kissing me, never going an hour without a kiss when we were together. I wasn't naturally physical, but I found her affection charming. Yet for 2 months, all that stopped. She no longer even seems happy when I return home. Sometimes, I feel like she doesn't even notice my presence. I attributed it to post-surgery effects or being stuck at home, but nothing changed after she resumed work. Now she often comes home late. Previously, she'd always come home first, even if she planned to socialize with colleagues or attend a meeting. She doesn't even bother to inform me if she'll be delayed. My suspicion grew when she casually mentioned plans with coworkers after work. I was surprised, thinking she was finally returning to normal. But it got very late, and she didn't come home, so I worried. I texted again, no reply. I called, but it went to voicemail. Unable to just wait, I contacted other colleagues I knew. They said they'd left the bar much earlier. My wife should have been home before anyone else. I drove to the bar where they met and spotted her car in the lot. I assumed she'd had more drinks and lost track of time, but inside the bar, there was no sign of her. Growing more anxious, fearing something terrible, I returned to my car, parked beside hers. I tried her phone again. It rang, but no one answered, eventually diverting to voicemail. I messaged her friends and sister, asking if they'd heard from her recently. All replied no. I was on the verge of calling the authorities when a vehicle pulled into the lot. It was a sleek, rather out-of-place car. It caught my eye, and I saw a woman emerging. It was my wife. She was laughing at something the man said, so she didn't see her car immediately. When she did, my presence startled her, confirming my suspicions of guilt. I had been frantic, even contacting her worried family and friends, only to discover she was out with some man. I was furious. To avoid a confrontation, I told her I was leaving. I can have intense reactions, and I didn't want to do anything I'd regret, so I drove to my brother's house. The entire weekend, I was tormented by uncertainty, constantly watching our house via security cameras. She never left, nor did anyone visit except the mailman. If she were unfaithful, wouldn't she have used my absence to go out or invite her lover over, right? She didn't, so perhaps she was innocent. Still, I knew that wasn't enough to confirm her innocence. Perhaps she didn't know when I'd return and wanted to avoid getting caught, or maybe her partner was away. These thoughts consumed me. The following day, I returned home, waiting until I knew she had gone to work, then changed for my shift. When I got back, she was home and had even prepared dinner, a gesture she hadn't made in ages. I ate, then told her we needed a conversation. I asked her to account for Friday, explaining my intense worry. She apologized, claiming she'd stayed for extra drinks and her phone was accidentally on silent. I didn't trust her explanation, as I had checked the bar and she wasn't present. That's when she broke down, crying, saying she'd felt low and encountered an old friend. After her colleagues departed, she took a long drive with him, where they simply talked. She confessed to being a bit tipsy, so her friend drove her around until she sobered up. I accepted her story then, but reflection brought doubt. She didn't appear drunk when I saw her, and I knew she'd need many drinks to be tipsy. The next day, I asked how many she'd consumed to get drunk. She claimed no memory. Refusing to let her manipulate my feelings, I asked directly if she was cheating. She vehemently denied it, swore she'd never betray me. I believed her. I chose to let the matter rest. However, she hasn't changed at all since then. She still comes home late in the evening without explanation and goes out frequently, avoiding telling me her whereabouts if she can. We haven't been intimate in weeks. Any attempt from me is met with avoidance. We used to have sex regularly, but now she won't even let me kiss her. I'm considering suggesting couples therapy. What are your thoughts? Is she being unfaithful? Update. When I sought opinions on my wife's faithfulness, everyone advised observing her actions before concluding. So, my first thought was to hire a private investigator. I found one through my friend's recommendations. It was quite costly, but I hoped it would be worthwhile. He would observe her for 2 weeks for any suspicious activity. Update 2. The PI has tailed her for a week, providing reports. She never leaves work, and when she socializes with coworkers, she returns directly home. The only odd detail is that she always departs only after all her colleagues have gone. She orders many drinks, almost enough to get intoxicated, then takes an extended bathroom break. After that, she pays for the drinks and leaves. I no longer believe she's cheating. I'll ask the private investigator to stop. I can't afford the fees. Then, I'll insist she attend couples therapy with me, hoping we can salvage our bond. Update 3. I was completely mistaken about my wife. I feel both angry and heartbroken now. She was indeed cheating, and she tried to be clever about it. After I let the private investigator go, I suggested we try therapy. She was hesitant initially, but after I expressed my deep feelings, how her actions made me distrust her, yet my love was strong enough to not let her push me away, she agreed. We began addressing our problems. She accused me of neglecting her needs, unlike before her operation. I apologized and diligently worked to correct that fault. I aimed to make her so content she wouldn't feel compelled to withdraw. Therapy seemed to be helping. We spent more time together, were intimate, and went on dates. Around this time, I received a raise at work, allowing me to skip some shifts. Then one morning, as I was in the bathroom, she entered to prepare for work. She always carries her phone, and that day was no exception. A notification popped up, but instead of checking it, as usual, she swiped it away. The whole situation seemed suspicious, but I feigned ignorance to avoid an argument. I spent the entire day contemplating how to access her phone. That evening, as we prepared for bed, I asked her to make me a smoothie since she was heading to the kitchen anyway. In her rush, she left her phone. I intended to ignore it, but my curiosity was too strong. I took the phone, scrolled through her texts, finding nothing amiss. Then I checked her other applications and discovered something on Instagram. She used his Instagram frequently, so I checked her direct messages. There, I found explicit images she'd been sending to an online contact. The man's messages were overtly suggestive, detailing his desires. She replied, expressing her exclusive desire for him and her profound love. They had engaged in numerous acts together, things she'd claimed she'd never attempt with me in bed. She had even stated her wish to perform a specific act for him whenever possible. For me, she needed to be in a very particular mood to even consider that. She often complained about my size, saying I was too large for her. Yet, the pictures the guy sent showed he was roughly my size, but longer. I was utterly devastated by everything I saw. We still hadn't even finished paying off the substantial debts from her surgery, yet she was having intimate relations with another man. There was absolutely nothing that she wanted that I didn't do for her. I gave up a major career opportunity to stay in the town we were living in, solely so that she could stay in the same town where her parents resided. The messages clearly showed he was a coworker, as they referenced their workplace. He seemed unaware she was married, using affectionate terms but never mentioning her leaving me for him. There was no indication he knew I existed. I checked her other social media and confirmed it was the same man throughout. They had been intimate since 6 weeks post-surgery. She never brought him to our home, but she frequently visited his place. That's where she went the night I was so worried about her. And those bathroom breaks? They were for intimate encounters outside work. They had even escalated, having sex in an outdoor park. My wife believed she was being clever. She told him she wanted to keep their affair secret from colleagues to avoid judgment, but I knew it was because everyone at work knew she was my wife. I felt sympathy for the man, and for the first time in our relationship, I truly despised my wife. And I had thought the problem was mine, trying to fix things, unaware of my own innocence. There was no way I would allow her to make a fool of me. After I finished with her phone, I returned it to its place and went to shower. She eventually came back with my smoothie, but I told her I no longer wanted it. As we slept, she clung to me in her slumber. Previously, I would have been overjoyed by her touch. Now, I only felt like tearing her skin from me and scrubbing every part she touched with coarse sandpaper. Unable to bear it, I left her sleeping and went to the couch. Then I recalled all the times she'd opted for the couch, and I couldn't bring myself to sleep there either. I spent the remainder of the night on the cold floor, staring blankly. I left the house as soon as morning broke. I purchased a new sofa and discarded the old one. That's where I began sleeping. She asked if all was well. I said yes, excusing my late return from work as not wanting to disturb her sleep. She said nothing. Later, she texted me at work, saying she'd be home late. I replied, "That's fine." I knew she was meeting her affair partner, and my heart shattered once more, knowing her continuous lies. I resolved to divorce her, but mere divorce wouldn't suffice. I needed to make her suffer for her deception and infidelity. A bit of research revealed why she chose the co-worker. He was the heir to a majority of shares in her company. She simply desired his wealth. Nothing more, nothing less. Her birthday was near, and I recalled their plan to meet in her office for her gift, which I was certain meant sex. This sparked an idea for revenge, and the best part was, I wouldn't even be present. I approached my in-laws and persuaded them to help arrange a surprise birthday celebration for her at work. The plan involved visiting during her break, delivering food and cake, then leaving without causing any workplace disturbance. Her workplace was relaxed about such things, provided it didn't bother others. The crucial word was disruption, and I intended to exploit it against her. Her parents agreed to my scheme, and everything was prepared. On her birthday, I didn't wish her well. She suspected I was planning something, and she was correct, but not about what she imagined. At noon, I called my father-in-law, saying I couldn't make the party due to an urgent matter at my job. I told him to proceed with the plan, assuring him she'd be in the office. I directed him straight to the warehouse, as she had mentioned she'd be filing inventory there. They were in for a shock. I wasn't there, but the news spread so fast that I heard every detail. Her parents and sister arrived at the warehouse to find her completely exposed, intimately engaged with another man. I heard her mother slapped her while she was still unclothed and began scolding her immediately. The man, still partly clothed, fled while attempting to dress himself. Her sister and father departed, leaving her exposed. I heard it caused a huge disturbance at work that evening. When she arrived home, I was waiting. She confessed to a long-standing affair and expressed remorse. She explained she got bored awaiting surgery and started talking to the man. I told her I knew everything. She was shocked, begging and pleading that things were never meant to escalate so far. I told her I believed her. As I dried her tears, she kissed me and I responded. She initiated intimacy and I allowed it, knowing it would be the final time. We explored everything I had wanted to try previously, and she was exceptionally keen to engage. It was challenging for me to maintain arousal, knowing she'd been with another man just hours earlier, but I needed her to believe everything was fine. Afterward, she fell asleep. I then completed my ongoing project, packing all her belongings out of my home. I drove to her parents' house, left everything there, then returned home. I placed the divorce documents on the kitchen table, with a note stating I didn't expect her presence when I got back that evening. That was the ultimate way to get my retribution. Update 4. She has tried contacting me since, but I secured a restraining order. Her sister informed me she was suspended from work for having sex in the warehouse. Her partner escaped consequences due to his status, but I now hear he wants nothing to do with her either. I eagerly await the divorce finalization to permanently remove her from my existence.